Madam Chair.
Okay, so welcome everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest?
None.
None. I will then ask for an approval of today's agenda.
Moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by His Worship. Can I have an adoption of the minutes from September 30th that are in your package?
Moved.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by His Worship. Is there any business arising from those minutes?
Could I just ask, Madam Chair, we had a discussion that was part of the transition of the new and the old committee.
Yes?
I'm back.
Committee.
Great! What happened?
I don't know, it didn't even move.
Oh.
All of a sudden, everything went blank.
Do we have an account of those minutes? I don't think we do.
From the, which ones?
Our transitional meeting that took place a couple of weeks ago with,
When it was just councillors?
yeah.
No, I don't believe anyone took minutes.
Okay.
Should there be minutes?
No, well, if not, could I just ask that when we go into closed session that we look at that
Yep.
as a follow-up? Because
Sure.
we did say we.
Yep, we'll do that when we'll go into close for sure. I'll just make a note on the closed agenda. In fact, I'll just put it right here. Okay?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And let's see, this is arising from the minutes. So we'll start with the reports. Human Resources update.
The occupational health and safety report has been attached. I'm not going to go through the numbers, but if anyone has any questions, just let me know.
Anyone have any questions for him? Okay. So our next item is communications update. Hi. Hi. I assume it's verbal.
We do have, yes, we do have a verbal update. It's the time of year that we usually give kind of our year-end summary, because we had done that the previous 2 years around this time. So demand for city response, interviews, and backgrounders has increased substantially this year. We are well over 500 media requests as of the end of October, compared to 476 for the entire year in 2019. And 508 for the entire year in 2018, and we still, of course, have 2 months to go for those stats. We logged another 10 just yesterday, for example. So that's keeping us very busy, as well as some of you as the spokespeople for those requests as they come in. On social media, the city is doing very well, especially when you look at trends across the country for some of these platforms. So our two main are Facebook and Twitter. They remain our main based on engagement. We saw on Twitter, for example, we're at 16,800 followers so far this year, which is a 17.5% increase since 2018. So that's pretty good. Facebook, though, this is where we're kind of way above the national trend. We have 10,251 followers as of today, and that's an 82% increase since 2018. So that just gives you an idea.
What's the number again, Jen?
We're at 10,251 on Facebook, and that's 82% increase from 2018. So our online followers, our online audience continues to grow quite a bit every year. We also pay close attention to our response rate. So statistically, what businesses are told to aim for when you look at studies of social media and what public engagement studies say is a 2-hour response time. Now, I will put that in context. That's 24/7, so 2 hours regardless of day or time. Hours as of today is 3 hours and 15 minutes. So when you consider there's only 2 of us, and that's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, we're pretty proud of that. So while not the 2 hours that we aim for, it's very close. So we're quite pleased. Some of the current projects, just to get this new committee up to speed, we have a video series that we're working on with the fire department. The pandemic has really impacted their community engagement and what they traditionally do. So normally they'd be having daycares in to tour their trucks, they'd be having newcomers in for, and other members of the community in for fire extinguisher training. They'd be doing the smoke alarm campaign door to door. They can't do any of that. So we're looking at doing a series of videos that like a virtual truck tour, for example. It's been done successfully in a couple of other municipalities, so we're not reinventing the wheel, but we're looking at making it Charlottetown specific, and they're really excited about it, and so are we. So we hope to launch 2 holiday-related ones before Christmas, and then we have 4 more planned for after that. We're working on the Wintertide and Christmas Parade marketing and comms items. The new tree cell project, I encourage you to, if you're down in the area of Queen and Richmond in the next day or two, they're doing the installation today and tomorrow. And that's a new project for the city, and if that pilot goes well, it might be something that council will look at budgeting for in the future. We have 2 larger announcements coming this week for sustainability initiatives. We're working on Remembrance Day speeches and messages, as well as the Veteran Recognition Awards, and training of the new community engagement assistant. So training on things like helping support web and social media, and backfilling for general communications and administrative work at the mayor's office. And we've started work on the mayor's annual report, which is a big project for our office. So that's our update from comms.
Thank you, Jen. Any questions?
Yeah, just
Could I
reading
just
through
ask
here.
about
Oh, sorry. He grabbed it
Instagram?
first.
I've asked you before about
You can stop
Instagram.
it.
Are we looking at expanding to Instagram?
Did you get permission to speak?
Yeah, I did.
I did kind of do both as you did that, sorry, yeah.
So.
He jumped in line.
Did we look at, are we looking at Instagram as another platform?
So we are on Instagram. We do use Instagram, but as you know, Instagram is photo and time sensitive, and we are based in an office, so we update when we have photos to update with, but we don't have enough data yet to provide trends. We're about 2,400 followers, I think, on there, so we're doing well, but it's a slow growth because we don't have the resources to be out and about to make that a live feed with a focus on photos, because that's what Instagram is for.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Bernard.
Now, I'm just curious, the communications, media requests, information and interviews, is this just in here for a reminder, or is there a new policy in place here?
The numbers that we're providing?
No, the purpose and the definitions. The media request for information for interviews.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you talking about item 6?
From 5.1 to 5,
Or 7, I mean?
yeah.
All right.
So we
A or
haven't,
Like the communication protocols. So is this just
so
a
Madam
review,
Chair,
or
that's
is
further
this
down on the
changed?
agenda.
That's the next item
Yeah,
on the
that's
agenda.
7.
That's
7A and B. That's the corporate communications policy and the visual identity policy visual identity was in the last meeting, and it's been
Yes.
tabled back. There was a few changes, I believe, made
Yeah.
and then brought back. And I think you've already emailed that out to everybody
Yes.
already. We got that a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the communication protocols.
Oh, is
Yes,
that the
you're
corporate
looking at the
communications
policy.
That's
policy?
7A.
Those are in the
Yeah.
policies.
Is
So
that
that is a
7A?
new policy that you're just coming out with then?
No, this policy's been in place since 2015, I believe, but the committee reviewed it in February, so we had a discussion about it, and then at our last meeting, the mayor had a few questions. We had that discussion in camera, and we determined that that discussion should have happened in an open session, so it was just for the minutes to have that discussion briefly in the open session. So, Madam Chair, if you'd like, I can jump right into that.
Sure.
So the 2 items, and jump in, Your Worship, if I've missed anything, but the 2 items, so specifically on the corporate communications policy, we were talking more about social media and how we decide what goes on the corporate channels versus what is more appropriate for council platforms. And we went over that we do have a checklist that we go through for every request we get, whether it comes from a politician, a department, or a member of the public. We have a number of things that we look for with that, and that we still encourage, even if you're not thinking it applies to our platforms, we still encourage you to provide it to us as we look for other ways to use that if it's not appropriate for our channels. For example, the mayor's annual report is another good way for us to get photos in for things that you're participating in that might not be corporate comms related. And then the visual identity policy was asked to be brought forward again for an update based on this committee had passed the new templates for the entrance signage and had reviewed the neighborhood signage. And the mayor was looking for an update on where we were at with that, and it's actually with the Public Works Committee now for their replacement schedule and to put the budget forward. The last update I got from the manager of Public Works is that they were reviewing their budget for the entrance signage and going for
It's gonna
quotes.
happen next year. Yeah, that'll be next year. Starting in August.
But that's not already, I thought we already passed that.
Yeah,
So we did, it's just that some of that discussion happened in a closed session, just organically happened, and then we determined later when the minutes were being put together that it should have been in the open session, so this is just a recap in an open session
Yeah.
of what was previously discussed.
Yeah, because I thought.
Just for
Okay, that
transparency.
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, 'cause- okay.
is that 7A or 7B?
She
That
kind
was
of
just
just
both.
comboed, she kind of did
I
combo.
comboed.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Counselor Duffy, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I'm just listening intently.
Okay.
Good.
Does anyone else have any questions on any of Jen's reports?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just this came, I received a call yesterday from, and Mr. Councillor Duffy knows who I'm speaking with, Mr. Jenkins, Ron Jenkins. He's asking to use our 4x8 notice boards to celebrate Christmas. It's all about Christmas, it's in the spirit of Christ. Jen, could you explain the policy on that? Is there a policy on how?
So I believe the billboards are managed through economic development,
They are.
actually. They have a schedule for what is placed on those.
Yes.
If
But-
you're asking for a communications perspective, I think they're reserved for events and not for advocacy signing or religious signage.
Right.
But
Are we talking about our digital signs?
no, this is the billboards that,
The billboards that we have throughout the city.
yeah, so for example, there's one at the end of North River Road.
Yeah.
As you go on to Brighton, there's one there. So we would
Oh,
have
yes,
it,
yes.
There's
like,
one on North.
we'll soon, after Remembrance Day, we'll have the Christmas parade one up, for example.
And somebody was wanting.
So Mr. Jenkins, and Councillor Duffy knows, he would like to see more Christian messaging on these boards to say that we're celebrating, similar to Kenny Zenkum, what Kenny puts up just at the end of coming out of Walmart onto North Road.
Yep.
The old Carmody property, he does, and Councillor Duffy, that's something Kenny
Yeah.
does on his own. But Mr. Jenkins
Yes.
has been asking to use our public boards, but I'm just trying to find out if we have a policy on that through communications or is it through economic development that we just use it for events, those boards? If you want to put up something like Kenny Zenkum has put up, then that's your choice.
So we have had many organizations approach the city over the years to use those boards, and we've had a strict no based upon their use for city events or city sponsored events. And then we get into debate if we have 2 or 3 on at the same time asking to use that space, then who gets it then?
So does it come under this group or does it come under what group, like what standing committee? Is it economic development? Should it not be a communications issue?
In theory, it could be part of that discussion, but right now they have been under the control of events and tourism and those folks' worship. So if council wishes us to develop a policy around that, then that's a whole different issue we can then bring forward. But to date, we have held that in reserve for city events or city sponsored events.
And Madam Chair, Councillor Duffy, do you want to
Yes.
come into it? Because I know he's probably spoken to you also.
Jenkins hasn't, but I've been in conversation, of course, with Kenny Zachem, to kind of do what we've done other years at the bottom of Buchanan Drive there. I don't know, but I know the signs you're referring to at the foot of North River Road and one at the Queen Elizabeth Drive North and the Quap housing area.
Correct.
And those are reserved, or just by tradition, I think, for any events that are co-sponsored or entirely sponsored by the city of Charlottetown. With the other ones, the Christmas season, the religious-oriented ones, they've kind of been handled in kind of a one-off sort of manner, not underneath the sign policy at all. So, in my opinion, I think they're just kind of a hit and miss, for lack of a better term. But I could see why they should be controlled. If we're going to do it for one, Christianity, if we want to do it for the Jewish religion and the
Buddhist.
Muslim people, I see no difference.
So I just wanted to bring that up because he said that we could use the signage for that. And there's one also out on, it's Northwood Road, the end of Northwood Road, out by the co-op down in Queen Elizabeth North. There's one on the Grafton Street Parkway, there's one there. I think we have 5 of them in total.
No, they've always been managed through events, so I'm not sure.
So the policy is clear, they're just for events, but the Kenny Zankum's, Councillor Duffy, Kenny Zankum, that's something he does on his own, right?
I think he
Is
owns.
this Ron Jenkins?
No, Kenny Zankum, he does his own.
Oh, Kenny Jenkins, yeah. He has his own, there is a reason for the season, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they do it on their own property.
Yeah, that's
That's
his own land.
not our, no, that's our property.
On property, so,
Oh.
and we have gave them permission before to put that sign on our property.
Yeah.
Council endorsed it last
Yeah, that was voted by council at 10-0 count.
Yes, last year.
And does he have to come back again now to ask for another request, or is it?
Yeah, he's been back.
Mike, was it?
Yeah, right.
Was it-
Kenny's been back kind of touching base to make sure that it's okay.
Was it touched on base last year, Mike, because we had some complaints on it, so we had to confirm that we wanted to leave?
Oh, yeah, there was 1 or 2 people who had phoned City Hall saying they weren't pleased with it, and so at the time, before another meeting, we put it on the agenda, and it was, there was short discussion, if any, and it was a 10-0 count, so it's kind of overwhelming.
But that's why we voted on it. We don't normally vote on every location for every sign somebody wants to put on.
That's
city
right,
property.
yeah. Yeah, because people had complained and just wanted to see what the feel of council was on the issue, and they spoke loud and clear, so we didn't go back this year because it's the same people involved, so I don't imagine they changed their basis of thinking.
Right,
So we,
okay.
but there's going to be people complaining about no matter what we
Yeah.
do. If you're handing $1,000 bills on Cal's Corner up there, some people would complain it should have been $1,500. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, my concern was that, that's the only time I remember voting on it.
yeah, that's right, exactly, Terry.
Okay.
We bought that land off Mrs. Carmody way back in 2002.
So do we need a policy, because if we have one place where Kenny Zakin puts a lovely display, so
Yeah.
does this prompt us, because we're so multicultural, that do we need a policy
Yeah.
so that going forward, other groups, organizations, spiritual groups come to us that we have some sort of a policy?
Good point.
And I don't
I have no
know.
problem with that.
Yeah, and should that fall under communications?
I'd say it's a human resources
It
group.
makes more sense to
Yeah.
be an HR. What do you think, Jen? Not to put you on the spot, but I did.
I would defer to the CAO on that, if I could.
We'll do is we'll work with the events folks downstairs and we'll combine with us, we'll do something if that's what you want.
Well, I think it's already with events now, from what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
all the signs, so why wouldn't that policy go with it? That makes sense to me.
But are you in agreement with it, looking at a policy on this issue?
Madam Chair, if I could comment, I think that there's a larger discussion that council may need to have on this, because there's other issues that we don't have policies on that I could see a similar problem happening. For example, our flags. We do take requests from the public for that space. Additionally, we have the lighting of the bell tower. We take those from the third party as well, and there's really no vetting that happens. We just, if the request comes in and it fits in the schedule, we allow it. So if you're going to do a policy on, say, public visual pieces, so signage would fit within that, I would say it's a bigger discussion that council would need to decide how they want to vet those types of things.
Is
Or
there-
do they want to vet them?
Yeah.
Do they just want it to be, if it fits into the schedule, it's considered, or is there?
Going on
Things
ad hoc
that-
basis.
Well, I guess is there an issue now?
No.
Well, if you know, I think Mr.
Comes an
Jenkins,
issue, we'll make a policy.
yeah, but Mr. Jenkins this is his second year asking for this, making this request.
So,
And it is always better to be a proactive council versus
Than reactive.
proactive or reactive. So, if Mr. Jenkins has asked twice, is this going to be something that,
He'll do it on a yearly basis, probably.
that he may want
But
to
I
ask
thought
again.
Mr. Jenkins' request was he wanted to change some things on our sign.
He wanted to put up signage that represents.
On our
this-
boards.
On our boards, on our 4x8s, are they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, representing Christian
Right.
values.
Madam Chair, that's an entirely different thing. We had requests, for example, from the Legion on Poppy Day, and that's, fairly honored event for us, as we all know. And we had to say no because it's not for the community to use at their wish, and that's what Mr. Jenkins would be asking. If he wants to do the same thing that Mr. Zachem does,
Correct.
I see no
okay.
issue with
I'm looking at
it.
it.
So he's taking it beyond that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll bring it up at economic development events.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to make sure that I brought this.
all right. So if there's no more, any more new business before we go into closed session? No? Okay, so I'll have a,
So
I
just
guess,
for clarity, there's no request of changes to either the corporate communication policy or the visual identity policy as per they're here for the mayor's discussion. We asked them to be here.
Yeah.
So if there's no changes that we're going to bring forward, is that correct?
The only thing I would ask Mr. Kelly or Jen is that for the corporate signature, like the signature, what you sent out, I think you sent it out in July and then we sent it to all of us, right? I just wanted to add Philip Brown, Office of the Mayor, City of Charlottetown, Birthplace of Confederation. There's no issue with that.
So they're just templates, so even in the visual identity and graphic standards guide, it says that these are templates to try to have some consistency, but they can be individualized for each person within that template, so yeah, that's.
And I did learn that it doesn't go up in the cloud, it has to go onto your hard drive.
Yes, that's why we couldn't do the update for you and you had to work through IT.
Yeah. So if you have 5 computers, you have to load it onto your hard drive for those 5 computers. You never knew that. Anyways,
What's that for?
instead
You know,
of
you
putting
send
down
an email,
Terry
when
and
you send-
Council Bernard, boom, you go to your signature, click, it pops right in. It's
Okay.
beautiful. Thank you.
I didn't hear you talk yet on the visual identity protection.
So that item that had come up was, again, the update, the mayor was looking for an update on the entrance signage. So this committee had passed a new template, and he was looking for an update on where we were at with that and brought the policy forward, which says that there should be consistency in our signage. So our templates are consistent. The replacement of the signage as they need to be replaced, that's all managed through Public Works. So it's now moved on to Public Works. So that was just a recap of that discussion.
Okay. So this is the community sign, it's not necessarily the entrance signage.
That was on the entrance signage, although he did also ask about the neighborhood signage as well, and where we were at with replacement.
So the neighborhood signage is what we had passed, it's the blue and white. The entrance signage, I thought we were going with different color scheme.
No, same color.
It's all the same?
Yeah,
Correct.
so the one that we passed has the 3 languages on it, and it had come to council in February, I believe.
Yeah, but the color scheme I'm talking about. Is
Yeah.
it blue and white, or is it more of the brown and gold
No,
lettering?
it's, we brought 7 different versions to committee, and committee had chosen the blues, the city colors, and that's the one we brought forward to council that they passed in February. So we incorporated it into the policy as well as the visual identity and graphic standards guide. So the discussion, why it came up again, was because the mayor was looking at where we were at with install, which
Okay.
is more of a public works question.
Okay. I didn't know we did the entrance signage the same. Okay.
And Council Bernard, you know the sign that's out there with the old 1911 jail, welcome to Parkdale? You know, then that little green space on the corner of Mount Everett Road and St. Lionwood Avenue?
Yep.
Well, that doesn't fit our corporate policy anymore. Anyways, it's been taken down, which is great. We can put one of our Parkdale signs there, right?
Public Works is responsible for the
Yeah.
placement of those, and it's based on the boundaries for the community, so I can't weigh in, but I would assume if there was one there before.
No, I thought the entrance signs, we have 6 main entrances, and I thought the entrance signs were going to be similar to what's down by the bridge.
But not same color.
Okay.
We didn't go with the color. Plus, there's some places, Councilor Bernard, those what are they looking at, 8 by 12s? 8 by 12s are not gonna fit out there in Winslow. Come in and high, so I said to Scott, let's accommodate for the areas that we're going to replace the signage. Everything doesn't have to be 8 by 12. You put an 8 by 12 out in Capitol Drive, coming in from,
So, for example, when you're coming in on St. Peter's Road, and we have the Welcome to Charlottetown sign there that's done up somewhat colonial. So that comes down, and we just put up a blue and white one.
8 by 12. That would be a big sign. Yeah.
It's not gonna look near as attractive.
As the heritage signs that we have up,
Yeah.
well, we voted on it. Right?
We voted on the neighborhood signs. I didn't know we voted on the entrance signs.
It came
And
to
if
the
we did,
last-
there was a,
It was the last committee,
It also went to council as a whole.
and then it went to council, thank you.
Yeah.
And it went
So-
10-0.
I don't remember. I can check.
It did.
you might want to check, 'cause I don't remember.
And it's not blue and white, it's actually the two blues of the city colors, so it's the dark blue and then the slightly lighter blue with the white text, so, and it says, Your Worship, how do you say?
Jalazzi.
Jalazzi, welcome, and
Bienvenue.
And I remember that.
Yeah, so that's the new
It's
entrance
more the
sign.
design I'm talking about, where the other ones have like the pillars.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, so
This is
the,
just gonna be
that'll
posts to the
be-
side.
so the pillars are actually a decision of Public Works on how they install, they just have to be consistent. So once they install one, then all the rest should be installed the same. So we didn't specify pillars for them, because it depends on what their resources are.
So
We were
Coun-
just responsible for the template itself.
Councilor Bernard, on the 8 by 12s, they will be rounded pillars. It won't be just on your steel post. It'll be, there's a design for it.
Just as long as it's attractive coming in.
I know, I agree,
If we're just gonna go throw up a couple posts in the blue and white signs.
Yeah,
well,
no, I agree, I agree. And Mr. Adams does have the design for that. Out at M&M building, or the big blue building, that would be an 8 by 12, because that's taking all that traffic coming in from the east. Same with the Western Capitol Drive, it takes all the traffic coming.
No, I realize that.
So that's,
All the
I think
traffic,
he's
that's why I
got
wanna
something
look good.
like a horn type of post for it. It'll look very attractive.
I believe they also have plans, Madam Chair, for the continuing with the garden underneath.
Yeah, I hope so.
So that's the same as coming in from
All that
Capitol
road.
Drive.
Hmm?
That's the same when you come in from Capitol Drive.
Yeah,
They have the
which is
one
part of the
up on
Olympic Park.
on the, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. And when are they being replaced? Next year?
Yeah, I guess so. We talked about it in August, and here we are in November, so can't do it
The
now.
capital budget discussion.
Okay.
So any other new business before we go into closed session?
Can we, do we have a mock-up what that's gonna look like, Jen? Do we have that yet?
Of the template itself or the whole installation?
The whole installation?
I don't, that's managed through Public Works, but we can request it.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be nice to see that. See what's-
And again, we'll have to fit what we're gonna put out in Winslow, because you can't go with an 8 by 12 unless we find a new site for it.
And that's what I would do, find a new site.
Watch out there.
I mean, why not when you come up the hill going into Winslow?
Yeah, we're on private land with some of these signage right now.
Are we?
Yeah.
With the commission.
Maybe we gotta buy a little bit of land to put a sign on then.
They've been
Anyway.
up since 2002, 2003.
Okay.
All right, so can I have somebody move that we move into closed that, Your Worship, and seconded by
Sure.
Councilor Bernard.
Stand by, please.